and today we're going to be taking a look at Yu-Gi-Oh! Now you're probably thinking of the one that came out in the year 2000, and obviously this one came out 2 years before that one, and not only that, but it only aired in Japan. But this one is most commonly known as Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0. It kinda makes it sound like a prequel, but it actually isn't really a prequel. It's actually pretty similar to the one that we're used to. And this one was made by an entirely different studio, and this one was made by Toei Animation. So if you really want to get technical about it, the one that we are used to is pretty much like a remake. So that's pretty interesting. It's like another take off of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Mangas. So that's a little bit of an introduction to this anime that I'm going to be taking a look at. So anyways, I'm sure you guys know what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is all about, you know, just like people dueling each other with cards and like life points and, you know, people getting sent to the Shadow Realm and all that bullshit. Surprisingly enough, this one is actually a little bit different than what you would suspect it to be, but here's the main plot. The story begins with a young student named Yugi Moto, and he gets bullied all the time. And there was a puzzle that was given to him by his grandpa, and he was trying his best to try to solve it. And well, you guessed it, he ends up solving the puzzle. And when he finishes it, a spirit within the puzzle comes out and possesses him, and from that day forward, Yugi ends up having a dark alter ego. Now what this dark alter ego does is that whenever someone that is evil is trying to do something really bad to either Yugi or any of his friends, he shows up and challenges them to a shadow game. And now you're probably thinking that this shadow game must be like a card game, right? Well, that's not entirely it. I mean, yeah, sometimes it's a card game, but other times it's usually different each time. So he ends up challenging them to whatever game he feels like doing. But it usually involves taking risks, and for the most part, yeah, the bad guys end up getting fucked over. And that's very basic of what it is, although I might as well go into some of the characters. So obviously, other than Yugi, I'm going to talk about the other ones, such as Janoichi, but we know him as Joey. At first, he used to bully Yugi, but until one day, he defended him from a bigger bully named Yushio. And after that, they became friends. And then there's Honda, who we know as Tristan. Yeah, that's right, he's named after a vehicle. He is Janoichi's best friend. And he always tells him to be serious most of the time, when yet he can't even take anything that serious. For an example, he's like in love with Miho, who happens to like reject him all the time. So pretty much he's almost like Brock from Pokemon. And then there's Anzu, who we know as Taya. She was always sticking up for Yugi whenever he was being bullied by Janoichi. But she has been pretty interested within Yugi ever since she first saw his dark side. And after that, she pretty much likes to put herself in danger just so she can see his dark side. Wow. Isn't that a little bit desperate? And then the last one I'll mention, for the good guys anyway, is Miho. I think that's how it's pronounced, but anyways. She is Anzu's best friend, and she's the kind of person that's all like happy-go-lucky. And as I said before, she gets hit on by Honda all the time. And interestingly enough, she is the one character within the main cast of this show that never reappeared in any other Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. But some people I know just refer to her as the purple-haired chick that never appeared again. Now as for the last character I feel like mentioning, I'm gonna mention Seto Kaiba. It's funny how his name never changed at all. Anyways, he has green hair, which is kinda funny because normally we're used to him having brown hair. But he is the president of a gaming company, and after when he first faces Yugi in a card game, he wants to try and recreate everything that he's witnessed in that duel to a hologram because, well, he just thought it was just so fantastic. But I don't blame him though. I mean, if you played a card on a field and it just happened to appear as a real monster, I mean, that'd be pretty fucking badass. So he is the reoccurring rival within the show, just like what we're used to in the other one. And man, if you thought he was an asshole in the one that we knew, in this one he's a lot worse. So that's all I'm gonna say about that part. And one thing I will mention that you may find to be pretty interesting is that you know how a lot of people refer as Yu-Gi-Oh! As like being like a kid show and whatnot? Well, if you watch this one, this is definitely not as much as a kid show as you would think it was. Like there's blood, there's swearing, there's alcohol everywhere, and there may not be any nudity, but there are babes in bikinis, so there you go. And there's a lot of weird creepy shit going on, especially a lot of dark times. Yeah, this show is definitely a lot more dark than you would think. So yeah, it's definitely a weird one. Now as for the animation, I think it looks alright for 1998. It may not be the best thing ever, but it's nothing too much I can complain about. Now as for the voice acting, it's only in Japanese, so therefore it's going to be pretty hard for me to judge the quality of it. But there is one thing I can say about it. Now Yugi is being played by a female voice actress, Now, it's pretty common that a female is gonna voice like a young kid who happens to be a boy, but I find with the way how it sounds, he sounds a bit too girly. And the thing that makes it even weirder is that even his face sometimes he looks a little bit too feminine. Now, if I was watching this show and I had no idea about anything about it at all, and they never referred Yugi as being a dude, I would have been convinced that he was actually a female the entire time. Now, I'm sure you guys are thinking that I'm thinking that this is like a bad thing, but it actually isn't really a bad thing, but it's just something that just makes me wonder if they could have tried a bit more. But then again, for all I know, I could just be wrong on that, because like I said, I can't speak anything in Japanese, so therefore I'll at least just say it's not bad. It also never really annoyed me as much. And yeah, Miho's voice can get kind of annoying at times, but for the most part, I can tolerate it. Now as for the score, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. It's actually pretty good, and yeah, it is a little bit weird at times, but you know, it's the kind of weird shit that I kinda like. And I think it's at least an interesting take on the Yu-Gi-Oh series. Now, it's not perfect by any means, but it can be pretty fun and funny at times. And obviously, this is not going to be for everyone, but I think for the people that did grow up watching Yu-Gi-Oh here, it's at least interesting to look into. And even without all like the card game actions that you would suspect to be in a Yu-Gi-Oh show, it's still pretty fun at times. But overall, I do like it myself, and probably next year I'll take a look at the other Yu-Gi-Oh series.